Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you all here for taking some of your precious study time. I hope you'll find today's session really, really helpful. I'm gonna go through a bunch of tips today for your last few weeks of study. And I just want to take a step because I hate saying that. Still have about 3 weeks of study left. And what I want to say about having 3 weeks of study time left is that it's still a lot of time. You still have a lot of time to study. So, how many of you that are here feel like you know a lot more today than you knew 1 week ago? Just tell me in the chat. Do you know a lot more today than than you knew a week ago? Right? And especially for yeah, everybody, right? You all know a lot more today, and you're gonna do that 3 times over, right? You're gonna do that 3 times over, and in these last few weeks, there's still a ton of time. There is still a lot of time, like, you're going to cycle through these subjects so much, and especially, like, I hope for a lot of you, how many of you were working previously, and now you sort of like a lot of people stop working in the month of July? If you're retaking the exam or if you're taking it for the first time. So are you going to have more time to study now that it's July? How many of you will have more time to study? Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of vacation time people are taking. You can take time off, etc. It's such a relief. Yeah, good, Anna. I'm so glad. So yeah, so you have a lot of time. So like, and just keep in mind, like every single day you learn so much more and you're like really finalizing issues and like making sure you get that understanding in. So that's what's really, really key in this time is like making sure that you are understanding the issues and you're identifying your weak spots and you're filling those weak spots. That's the whole point. So anything, like everybody, tell me in the chat like a topic or a subject you're worried about that scares you. Put in the chat like what subjects, what topics, if you get it on an essay, are you scared about? BA trust, evidence, con law, Civ Pro, just tons, right? Like any of those things that you are scared about, practice them. Like hit those hard. Secure transactions, yeah. But secure transactions, they tend to test the same things over and over. So I know there's people here taking UBE and California. So if you're in California and you're like, what's secure transactions? You don't have to worry about that. BA, yeah, there's tons of those things. And like BA in particular, is where they really like to test. The bar examiners love to test the like kind of weird rules. Like they'll throw in like a proxy, agreement or a proxy vote or a like a voting trust agreement, or they'll just ask you like, is this person an employee, a shareholder, or a partner? And it's like we've never seen it before on an essay. So we tend to get all those weird things in business associations. So I totally get that. So let's get into proxy and voting trust. Like what the heck? So a few things. Let me put my PowerPoint on the screen. Give me 1 second. All right. So goals for today. So what study tools can help you? Obviously, I'm going to do a little bit of that little self promo there, but I've put together some stuff that I think is really, really helpful for these, particularly in the month of July for studying. We're just going to say that in the month of July to study. All right. So I want to talk about those things. We're going to talk about where to focus your attention on the MBE. All right. Where to focus your attention. I'm going to really talk about how to do a proper issue spotting. Like a lot of you can sort of, if you've been writing essays for a while now, you can sort of switch gears and you can start doing like focusing much more on issue spotting rather than writing out full essays. So that's a huge part is like precision in your issue spotting. So what should you be doing? How do you really do that properly? What does a good issue spotting exercise look like? What does that look like? And I have it typed for California in here, but I'm going to also address the UBE as well. So we'll talk about both so that we can, I want all of you to pass and be successful. Then also some really good PT practice. So I went through everything that is freely available on the NCBE website, and I'll give you the link. And I pulled out like, what are the PTs that I think are great to practice from now until the bar exam? All right, so we're going to do that at the end. But first, I'm going to talk about study tools that can help you. I want to talk about some of these things. So one is my podcast. In these last few weeks, I'm going to be doing a ton of talking about just helpful stuff. I'm going to go over do like black letter law drills. I've also been doing that already. So it's something that I think if you don't follow that, you should just like check that out. I also do have, how many of you guys are on Reddit or use Reddit regularly? I have a Reddit that I started a while ago where I started actually, let me find it, get the link. where I was creating like oh, thanks, Neer. Like bar prep questions. If you guys have substantive legal questions, and like this is never, I like have not published or talked about this before. So there's nothing in there. But like if you have bar prep questions, so like I'm the moderator in this group that I just started. So there's 40 members in it. Wow. But where y'all want, if you have any questions about like anything bar related, like you know, you can do substantive questions, etc. Like I'll answer it. So sort of like a big ask me anything group. So I thought I would put that in here too. So like that's a great free resource that I'm working on. I'll be checking it daily. So if you guys have a question, if you want to ask someone, because like I have written materials in every single subject for every bar exam. I've written a couple of textbooks now, working on a few more. So substantive questions, if you have like stress questions, if you have questions about where you're at, I'll go in there and answer those. And plus you guys can be a really good resource for each other as well. I know there's other groups and stuff, but just want to mention that I also just released my brand new quick sheets. How many of you guys have these? They just got released on Monday. Today's Wednesday, right? So these came out. I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited for them. And you can print them. If you have any trouble printing, let us know, but you can definitely print them. There's not UBE only ones, but they are really helpful for the UBE, I think, too. I've had a lot of people that have found them super helpful for that too. So let me give you all the link for that here as well. Yeah, I can make a version of it that removes the California stuff too, but that would take me a couple of days, to be honest. So there's that, and I'll give you all a little bit of a preview if you just want to check them out. So here they are, but this is what I've been working on. It takes my book, my essay book that I have, and distills it all down. And I really try to make understanding the law simple, and I try to number things for you guys and write things very simply, where I'm placing emphasis, you know, on like where it's an element, putting an and, numbering elements. Try to just write everything simple, focus on the most frequently tested issues, the heavily tested stuff, what you really need to know, including distinctions for for those of you taking California, for California and federal, but just really kind of getting everything you need to know in 42 pages. So, and honestly, it probably has a little bit more than you need to know. If you, and it, yeah, we cover, we do cover the MBE stuff, but it doesn't go like MBE. You have to know such a level of detail. This definitely is great. It definitely is a great tool for the MBE, but for the MBE, like you do need to know more. I'm not going to lie. Like I have written in the middle of finishing an MBE book too. But there's the Reddit group. If you're just taking the essay portion of California, honestly, I have an essay book, and the essay book is just a different resource. So it shows you how to analyze every type of issue, and it's broken down. It's like 433 pages, and it covers every single topic and really how to analyze the issues. How do you do it quickly, shorthand, like really getting into like the depths of writing. Whereas the quick sheets is really much more of a memorization tool. So yeah, it's much more of a memorization tool. And I'll show you all the essay book as well. The essay book is just digital, although we are actually currently looking at making the essay book and the PT book printable. So like switching the technology, we just have to make sure that people that have bought it, like if you take notes, anyways, we're dealing with a little technical issue with that. Just wanting to make sure that that it will work for everybody still. And good, I'm so glad you love the essay book, Wood. That's great. So if y'all want to see the essay book, it's here. So what I do here is I show you literally like how to analyze every single issue. So for example, yeah, it does make essay with the analysis. Yeah, like I literally, if you want to know, like I've literally written every single sentence of analysis with fill in the blanks. So I just tell you, like I basically have filled in all of the issues. So like, for example, here's personal jurisdiction, here's the start of it. And I give you the rule. I also gray out the rules that you don't necessarily need, and I tell you when to include that. I write in here, here's like the sentence of analysis that is written. Plus there's all of these footnotes, and the footnotes are like every single essay or every single question I've been like asked on that issue. It's like I've worked with so many like thousands of students, and I know what I get asked about. So this is really designed to help show you, like if there is an issue that you're struggling with figuring out how to write it, you're having trouble understanding a particular issue, this is really designed to help you with that. So I cover everything in this book, walk you through it, do stuff shorthand, etc. So This is the essay book. If you're having trouble, yeah, there is a way to read it in double pages. Yes, Maria. If you're having trouble figuring out like how much of this do I need to memorize, like how do I analyze this issue, this is what that book addresses. This is what that addresses, because I've tutored so many people, and I've seen and read so many, like I can't tell you how many thousands of bar essays I've read. And this gets at all the issues that I see that people have when they're writing bar essays. So the cheat sheets, the bar essay book, we do have a discount code for the bar essay book. We have like a $10 off coupon that I think is still good. So if you're interested in that, we can, I'll put that link in the chat. We don't have any discounts for like the quick sheets, that, but those are $50. Essay book, the PT book, if you want to see like how I break down PTs. I also have a ton of free PT resources on YouTube, so check that out too. And then we have our mock exam that is due by this Sunday. And the materials are being released today for it. So this is really for California. I don't have a UBE version of this right now. It's just a lot to administer. So, but we do have our mock exam that's a full, they're all past questions and a PT, and all past questions and a PT that we are grading. We'll return to you within a week and like give you some specific guidance for you and like what to focus on with your writing for the last, up until the exam. The other thing I want to mention that I didn't put on here is, thanks Melanie, is we have our final forecast session. So anybody that's been to any of my sessions, you've probably heard me say that I hate predictions of subjects. But what I do and what I do really like is, or this is what my approach to that, because people always ask me for my predictions, is I have a session called the final forecast. And I go through every single subject and I have a UBE version and I have a California version. And what I do is there's the UBE one, here's the California. I cover a ton of stuff in it. But what I do is I cover every single subject, and I talk about what issues have and have not been tested recently. So, and then on top of that, so I cover every single subject. We're looking at what topics have and have not come up, what issues have and have not come up, to really help you focus your studying. And I also put together a packet of essays targeted to this particular exam based on, what has and hasn't been tested. Put together a packet of essays for you to focus on, and give you a daily study schedule. We talk about we go over how do you make up a rule? What do you do when you have no idea what's going on? Yeah, so we cover sort of like everything within that final forecast session. It's really helpful. That's on July 11th. So you can sign up for that. I put the link in the chat there for everybody. And I'll just put a link to our shop page that has all of the resources. So the quick sheets, the essay book, PT book, etc. That's right here. Let's get into some stuff. I wanted to talk about MBE, like the heavy hitter categories. How many of you guys struggle a little bit with the MBE? Like where that's your sort of like weakness on the exam? Yeah, Gabby, I feel that, right? It's hard. So a couple of things that I want to say and tell y'all, if you have a hard time with the MBE, I completely get it. And one thing that I think people forget about this exam is that this exam, every component of it is written by very smart people. It's written by a lot of very smart people combining their energy together. So combining their energy together to write difficult things and to like build in complexity. So with the MBEs, for example, it's usually, I think it's a minimum of 5 subject matter experts that write each question. So, and then they go through like literal years of testing. So they're really tough, they're really tricky, but not all questions are created equal. In civil procedure, for example, 2/3 of the questions are on these 3 subjects. So jurisdiction and venue, pretrial procedures, and motions. So you're going to get about 6 questions of each of these in each of these topics. Whereas like you might have a low score in appeals, but that's only 2 questions. So don't spend a whole day doing appeals when you only have 2 questions on that, right? So you really want to focus in your time, and like contracts, like content and meaning, right? Like that's one topic. Don't spend a ton of time on that when you're not going to get that many questions on it. You're going to get just like 1 or 2 questions. So contracts, your big topics are formation, performance breach, and discharge. So this, I put in here about how many questions you're going to get for each of these as well, just so that you would have an idea of like, how really important these topics are. The other thing to do, how many of you guys are using, I just talk about AdaptBar. I have my own program as well, but I know most people use AdaptBar. I know UWorld is a big one too, but with Adaptabar, you can look to see, how are you doing? And I really like to pull, yeah, John Grossman's pretty good. Yeah. I really like to pull people's reports on Adaptabar and look at what they're missing. So look for trends in what you're missing in, information. Do you constantly miss like UCC? And are you constantly missing that it was merchants, right? Look for the patterns and the trends in what you're missing in all of these categories and make sure you're really sharp in these categories. So here's Civ Pro, contracts. There's also con law. Half your questions are on individual rights. Yeah, no, I know that UWorld has the same. I just sort of like the data on Adaptable a little bit better, but yeah, UWorld has the same. So like whatever you're using, like you can see this data, which is great. So individual rights, you have 12 questions, and then you're gonna get in each of the other 3 categories in con law, you're gonna get 4 questions approximately, because you have 20 questions that are counted in every single subject, right? So about if half your questions are individual rights, you're gonna have 12 or 13 questions there. Oh, negligence, it should say 12 questions, not 9. Sorry about that. That should say 12. So let me just fix that really quickly. You're gonna have about 12 questions on negligence. And like what you should look at, like if you hone in on your negligence questions, really have a look at that and say, okay, well, what is it that I'm missing in here? Am I constantly seeing, like, is it breach questions? Am I missing stuff that tests me on landowner duties, etc.? So on your torts questions, like you want to really like focus in on that. What is it that you're missing? If you're missing intentional torts, where you're going to have about 4 questions on intentional tort, are you constantly missing assault questions or battery or transferred intent? So really, really dig in on those, and don't just look at like what's the correct answer and why, but really look at look at what's wrong with the answer that you selected. That's what's really key. You really do need to get into like understanding what went wrong in your thought process, right? And like what fact in the fact pattern and what that they put in there that led you to pick that incorrect answer. So really do a deep dive. I know, and I just want to say this, that with the MBEs, a lot of people are like, oh, just do 3,000 questions. That's not what it's about. It's really about digging very deep. Archie's coming in to cheer everybody along, digging into each question and really figuring out like what's going on there. I generally have people do right now, as long as you want to get to having done about 1,800 to 2,000 questions by the end of the study cycle. So you want to be right now, if you're around like 800, 900 questions, that's pretty solid. If you're not quite there, that's okay. Do some targeted like catch up, and maybe you do a few days that are longer. You should be doing a mock exam, like a full mock exam, no later than, like the end of this weekend is ideal. And again, we offer that mock exams. If you want to sign up for that, we'll grade it for you, etc. Definitely look into that. We have it on our website, but just really kind of focus in, hone in, figure out your strengths and weaknesses, and generally do about 33 questions a day. To me, that is the sweet spot. And what I generally say is to do them in smaller sets, even to do a set of 17 and then do another set of 17 to sort of break it up, make it a little bit easier to kind of get through and digestible. That's sort of how you make, if you need to put in a longer study day and you find it difficult, you want to switch up your task and switch up what you're doing throughout the day. It's called interleaving. So it makes it easier on the brain and easier on you to put in those longer sessions. So here in evidence, the bigger topics, and it's just slightly, because there's a lot of topics, it's really like 5 or 6 questions in each of these. So like five relevance, 5 presentation of evidence, 5 hearsay, or 6. So it's somewhere around there. It's an approximation of that. Property, they're all equal. You're going to get 5 per topic. So there's those 5 topics within property. So make sure that you go through and look at all of those. Hearsay within those 3 topics, it's really about 5 or 6 per each of those. Crim is equally split between Crim and Crim Pro. They're going to get about 12, 13 Crim Pro. And then they have, I think, 3 topics within Crim. So you're going to get about 4 in each of those. And then this, I decided to put in here because this is what I find people tend to get wrong most of the time, is all of these motions within Civ Pro. So I put a little table in here. I also do have, this is actually also in another presentation. If you have a hard time with the MBE, I have a YouTube channel. And for the February 2023 bar exam, I did like an MBE workshop, like just a free one. And you can watch it on my YouTube channel, where I run through just like some helpful tips, some additional helpful tips. We also have a blog where there's a ton of like helpful advice on the blog too. Yeah, and this Civ Pro sheet, it goes on to the next page too. This will be, this PowerPoint will be posted to our free workshops course, which I'll give you all the link right now. Hang on one second. Yeah, I will definitely give you all this. But if you want to register where you can get access to like all my videos and there's handouts and all sorts of stuff. Oh, sorry, it's not that. It is right here. Just going a little slowly. I'll put the link in there in a second once that pulls up. So yeah, so this, I thought I would put this like standard timing and little notes chart in here. And then also, this is why I did it this way. For a motion for new trial and a motion for relief from judgment, there's you have to also have the grounds. So, and the timing. But yeah, this will be posted in our free workshop course, and I'll put the link in the chat in a few minutes. So this is particular for California. So I want to talk about issue spotting essays, and I'm going to talk about it for the UBE as well. You just change the timing. But for California, this is what you should do. And so if you sign up for my final forecast class, I give you that huge packet of essays, and I have it for the UBE and for California. So this is how I would do the issue spotting for that packet that I'm going to hand out. So I would take 15 minutes, and I want you to not know the subject, not know the topic that you're getting. Like, you should just have a stack of essays, right? So if you're not doing my final forecast, you're not going to get that targeted packet, then do this. So unknown subject, unknown topic, you want to have just a big mix of essays because you want to really try to simulate the bar exam experience. So go through the fact pattern, issue spot, write all of your headings and your subheadings, place all relevant facts underneath the relevant heading, right? So that you can make sure that you're using all the relevant facts that you need to, and then triage the issues. Identify where your points are. Like, where is there controversy? What has more issues that you need to get into? So triage issues. So give yourself 15 minutes to do that. And then give yourself 15 minutes, this is for California, to write the applicable rules. And then do a self-assessment of that. So this is how you can get through more essays and review. I don't just want you to like just go through an issue spot and then look at the answer. Like, go through and just like mark up the fact pattern. It's not as efficient. If you're handwriting, Jalinda, I mean, you can still do this. You can still do this if you're handwriting it too. You just wouldn't, maybe like on the exam, you wouldn't just write your facts underneath, but like you would want to know what facts you're using where, and like maybe just do a shorthand method. And then make sure that you do a self-assessment. So like, did you spot the right issues? If not, like, what issue did you miss? Then look at the facts in a fact pattern and say, okay, well, what facts trigger that issue? Why did they talk about that? If you talked about something that's not in the answer, why don't you need to talk about that? That can be a little bit harder, but that's really, really helpful too to look at. How accurate were your rules? And all of this, I want you doing closed note. I definitely, like, if you are somebody that handwrites the exam, and for the issue spotting, you can do it either way. I don't care. I would probably type it, if I'm being honest. Like, I would do it in the way that you are going to take the exam. So if you're going to handwrite the exam, handwrite it. If you're going to type the exam, type these. So you want to just like get into that rhythm. And yeah, you will get scratch paper, in the exam. But this is what I want you to do. And if you're doing the UBE, you just half the time, but you do the same thing. So you want to, with the UBE, you know that it's much more precise issue spotting. You just get to that narrow issues. Yeah. So, and if you're UBE, you just take like 7-8 minutes, right? Or you can even take like 10 minutes for each of these right now. But like, as you want to get it as close to spending just half your time. So that half of your time is really spent just like spotting the issues, identifying what are the relevant facts, and writing out your rules. So practice doing that to really work on your speed. Because like the month of July, so I always say like the months leading up to July, so like May, June, you want to spend like working on your precision, understanding, etc. Like, that's what the point is in those months. Come July though, you need to also incorporate timing. So you want to make sure that you're also thinking about the timing. I personally suggest typing the exam if you're like good at typing, right? That's a very personal thing, and I can answer that at the end. So this is what I want you to do when you're issue spotting though, is like give yourself this amount of time. Don't just like mark up the paper, like actually write it out. Put yourself in that environment as if you were on the exam. That's what's really, really helpful. Any questions about that? Is that helpful? I feel like everybody says, oh, just issue spot, but they don't tell you how or what to do. So I like to do this. And if you want to see, I also have YouTube videos that are free where I go through, like I walk through issue spotting exams and like following this process. So, but yeah, like limit your time, really treat it, do unknown subject, unknown topic, like lay out how you're going to organize it. So, because you want to think about that, and then give yourself the time, like write out your rules. Like, this is where, if there is anything that you are scared of, there is any things that you are scared of. Thank you so much, Shannon. That's so nice. If there's anything that scares you or anything that you are scared of, practice it now, right? If there's something you would be scared of getting on the exam, you have to practice that now. So that's really what's key. So yeah, like make the errors now. When did the hard copy that we're actually looking at the hard copy of the PT book, we're sending it to a printer, so that won't be ready before the July exam. Bob, I will talk about that. But we're exploring a way to make it so that you can print it. So especially like the first the first chapters, we're looking at doing that. So the same way that you can print the quick sheets. What I mean by writing out an unknown subject / topic is like print out a stack of essays, and you should all like be working from hard paper copies. Print out like just a stack of essays and like have them upside down so you can't see them, and just grab an essay from the top from the stack. Do them that way so you don't know what you're getting. That's a really good way to do it. Another thing you can do for PTs, I often find, and like I do this in my PT course, I call them PT drills, because it's a little bit different than issue spotting an essay. But so watch my PT videos. Have you guys all watched my like YouTube, or like if you're in my class? Yeah. So you can do what I call steps 1 through 5. Do steps 1 through 5 and give yourself 45 minutes to complete it, and time yourself at each step. Know where you get lost. So you've got to know where, like at what point do you get lost? Like where do you lose time if timing is an issue for you? So you definitely need to know where you get stuck. So like mark out the timing for each of those steps and practice it. And you can do, so instead you can do, a PT in 45 minutes where you're doing the first 5 steps, right? But caveat to that is, if you are someone that struggles with the analysis, then you should do the second half of it. But you can do the first 5 steps, and like it just gets you into that rhythm, and like gets you into like dissecting the library, dissecting the rules, drafting your rule proofs or case explanations or whatever you call them. In my book, like I know that in the book, like, if you're not going to do that, I get it if you don't want to start doing a PT class now. But the PT book, and even if you're taking the UBE, I think it's really helpful, even though it has California PTs in it. It's really helpful explaining, like going really in depth into how to do these things. Yes, it will be, Lorraine. And then here is a list of California PTs on the top. So I think you should all like do all the California PTs, and only the ones though from July 2017 to present. Don't do any that are older than that, because those are 3-hour PTs from when we used to do 3-hour PTs in California. But definitely make sure that you have done the In Ray Price PT, which is I think February 21 or February 22. Make sure that you have done that PT in particular. So I think, because when the instructions change for California, and they now say, and the UBE says this too, that they now say, as in practice on the bar, in a performance test, there may be inconsistent facts or missing facts. And you have to be able to identify what facts are missing or what information is inconsistent, identify it, and identify how to get the information you need, which is really just kind of getting at Civ Pro discovery a little bit, or just like informal stuff. Maybe you just have to interview someone or talk to somebody. So you need to, so this is a really good one to practice. I would do In Ray Price. Also the one after that, I think it's July 22, is Nisi v. Gosling and Hardy. But all of these PTs from July 2017 to February 2023 are good. One thing I will say is the February 2020 and February 2021 PTs, I think, are a little bit more difficult. So if you're going to do those, do them sooner rather than later, because I don't want you to freak yourself out right before the exam. And I would even do this In Ray Price PT now, like sooner rather than later. Although if you're doing my mock exam for California, don't do the February 2021 PT just yet. And then these are PTs that I like that are currently available totally for free on the NCBE website. I'll put the link to these here as well. I'll put the link in the chat. I generally like people to practice a minimum of 8 performance tests. That's my sort of rule of thumb, is to do a minimum of 8 in full. So these are the PTs that I would suggest that you do, that I think are great to practice from. If you're doing the UBE in particular, California, all of these are really great to practice from. And this one, just make sure that you have done this one, the In Ray Price PT. And then if you've done all the California PTs, I just put the link in the chat to the NCBE website. These are the ones that I like from there. And that's 5 from now until the bar is sufficient, obviously. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, and I have some notes on self-assessment that'll be posted in the in the PowerPoint that are here, but I didn't want to go through, but I did think it was helpful to have. The PTs for California that are difficult are February 2020 and February 2021. I think those two are difficult. And check out, as a reminder, like our quick sheets, I think that one of the biggest thing everybody should be doing at the end of every day is a bit of memorization. So, you can use these to quiz yourself, to run through rules, etc. You can use them for both. Yeah, so in Gabby, that's actually one of the things that we are, if we switch over the book, we can make it so you can highlight. There's not a pattern of difficulty between February and July. No, I really don't see that. The final forecast is live. Yes. Sandeep, there's not really, it's really like what I generally say. And if you do the final forecast, I give you a last 2-week study schedule. And I actually have a study schedule in my essay book too. But what I say is you want to spend about 40% of your time on essay, 40% of your time on MBE, and 20% of your time on PT. So I generally have people do 2 PTs a week, 1 to 2. For UBE, you should do 2 a week. For Julinda, I don't think so. Not yet. We're looking at changing it within the week, but it's not a guarantee. I'm not 100%. So if you want to wait for a day or two, what I would generally say, like what your day should look like. What your day should look like is you should start your day. You can do a little bit of black letter law review, like do some quizzing, right? It's like use like these sheets or whatever you have, like do a little bit of quizzing of some rules, and then do an essay, and then self-assess the essay, and then do 17 MBEs, and then take a break, and then repeat that with a different subject. Or maybe you're doing essays and stuff blind, right? So you just grab an essay, do it, and then do 17 MBEs. Maybe you're doing a mixed, or maybe you're targeting the stuff that you know that you're weaker in. Then take a break, and then do that again with a different subject, and then take a break in the evening, and then do just some like quizzing, some like black letter law review. Yeah, so that's what your day should look like. And that those are like, there's 3 study blocks. So first study block is about 4 hours, then you take a break for lunch. Second study block is about 4 hours, then you break. And then the third one is like an hour, 1 to 2 hours. We're gonna send out an email to everybody with about the PT book. So, because we'd have to switch over the technology. So if people have made notes, they'll lose their notes. So we'll get to that, but we're just exploring it right now. Thank you so much for joining. Memorization is just really drilling. And like, not one thing I will say about memorizing, do not try to memorize complete sentences. You memorize the buzzwords from the rules, and then you put a rule together. Then you say like, basically every rule can be written like there is X when Y, right? A defendant or a person a person is liable for negligence when there is duty, breach, causation, damages. Your buzzwords are duty, breach, causation, damages, right? But you don't remember, like you don't have to memorize a sentence. It's like a beautiful sentence. Every single rule is basically X when Y. No, you're not punished for using more than one book. And I don't have the PowerPoint from today will be posted in our free workshop course, which you can find on my website. I'll put the link. Oh, here's the link if you're not signed up for that. But if you're in our free workshops course, this video along with the PowerPoint will be posted within about 24 hours. The best way to study if you're just doing it's what I said, just minus the MBE. So it's doing just loads and loads of practice. All right, everybody, thank you so much. And let me know what, if you're liking the quick sheets and the books and all of that. We'll send out links for everything as well. And hopefully I see you guys in class, and and then hopefully celebrating passing come the fall. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Have a really great rest of your day. See you there, Kelly. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Good luck.